Meet Martin, the real estate wizard in Central Arizona. He's in the top 1% of producers and has over 3 million in real estate holdings. It's no wonder he's always smiling. But wait, there's more. Martin's secret weapons are his investment and Airbnb property expertise. He's got the inside scoop on how to turn a house into a cash cow, and he's not afraid to share his knowledge with his clients. On top of all that, Martin is a podcasting powerhouse, running the Equity Team podcast. His listeners know that he's the real deal, and that's why he's a superstar in the real estate world. So if you want a slice of the real estate pie, call up Martin. He'll help you find the perfect property, make the right investment, and maybe even crack a joke or two along the way.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks for the intro. The whole reason why I'm doing this is because I actually was not able to buy the house that I wanted in Sedona in 2020 and 2021, which is when I decided I was going to move to Arizona in the Verde Valley. And I just kept being outbid by all these Airbnb investors. And I was so frustrated. I was like, I just want to live there. Like, why can't I do that? Why is the market so hot? Why are people just throwing so much money at this place? And so I ended up having to buy right outside of Sedona, and I bought in Cornville. And that was just really an investment for me. Every time I need to buy a property, I need to go through an agent. He does the negotiation for me. I need to call him to open the door. And that was a little bit frustrating because I wanted to do this on my own. So I got my license and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go on the market, see what's available, and every day check out all the cool properties and see what I can do with them. I started analyzing a lot of deals. I couldn't take on all these deals. So what happens is I pass the deals along to my clients. I would say about 90% of our clients are investors. So it's a market that's really, really hot for short-term rentals just because there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of traffic through Sedona. You know, we're at the junction with the Grand Canyon and Phoenix, which is the fastest developing metropolitan in the country. Originally, I was really frustrated at investors and Airbnb. There's nothing you can do about it because there's a demand. People want to go there and they want to have the option of going 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you know, with a group of friends, with their families. They want to be in a nice place. They don't want to be in a small hotel room. The investors have been doing a really good job at remodeling all these houses that were kind of old and run down because there hasn't been that much development in the area in decades. And so now with this new wave of Airbnbs, we're starting to see a lot of these old rundown houses become beautiful again. So it's really upping the home values of all the area, and it's making it just so pleasant to walk around. You know, you found the right guy. Give me your price point and I'm going to hunt for the best deal for you, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do with it. I'm going to tell you what you need to remodel. I'm going to introduce you to the contractors. I'm going to introduce you to the people at the city so you can put your permits in. At the end, when your product is listed, it's going to look amazing and you're going to have a lot of people wanting to book it. You could buy a house in Sedona for like $300,000, you know, up until 2020.
Yeah, not
like an actual site-built house, right? Now you couldn't even get a manufactured home at that price. You'd be lucky to find one at that price that's from the 60s and that's so run down you may have to tear it down. I think our average medium home price now is 1.15 in Sedona. It literally doubled in 3 years. But even then, what's interesting is, of course, the locals are frustrated because a lot of people that weren't able to buy a house before that boom are definitely not able to buy a house now. And I understand that pain because I've been there, you know, myself. But the thing is, Sedona is now on the map. And it's not just on the map at the national level, it's on the map at the international level. And when you have people from all over the world that travel tourist destinations, vacation spots all around the world, and they come and see Sedona, they're like, whoa, like what the hell? Like this place is real. It exists. It's like you wake up in the morning and you have these red rocks facing you and you're like, and soak up that energy, you know? And then so you start having money from Europe coming in, you start having money from China coming in, you have money from the Emiratis coming in. So it's really expensive for Arizona. Now that it's an international spot, you have to price it out for the other international vacation spots. And in my opinion, it's still undervalued. I mean, $1 million for a house where you can wake up and see the red rocks and go in your backyard and go on a hike. I mean, come on, like there's a lot of money on this planet and there's a lot of people that can spare $1 million for a vacation home. And it's unfortunate. A lot of locals were not able to catch that wave in time. But, you know, luckily, it's not just Sedona, right? It's all of the Verde Valley. We have now a lot of that spillover flow of investments that cannot find what they want in Sedona and are investing around Sedona instead. So we have Cottonwood, in my opinion, going to become one of the hotspots of Arizona and definitely the Verde Valley. They have pro-development policies over the next 30 years. They have a master plan that's really, really pro-development. They want the business. Historically, Cottonwood has gone 3 major recessions in the 70s, in the 90s, and the 2000s, and that really hurt them bad, right? And a lot of properties were distressed, and there was wasn't much going on up until 2016 when Arizona lifted the short-term rental ban. Now people started flowing more and more into Sedona. Because they're flowing into Sedona, they're going through Cottonwood and they're like, it's actually cute over here. You know, you have Mingus Mountain on one side, you have the Red Rocks on the other side, and you're kind of like in the valley between all of that, and you have a couple rivers going through, and it's like, it's not that bad. And the prices were still really, really low. And then you have this old town Cottonwood, which is on Main Street, which is a really, really cute street with historical buildings. And they're now completely being reinvigorated, and you have bars and restaurants and wine tasting rooms. And you want to spend time there. You want to spend a weekend with your friends over there. And it's just a couple hours driving from Phoenix, right? So like when I was living in Los Angeles, our weekend escape was Joshua Tree, right? You just hop on your car for a couple hours and then you're in the middle of the desert, and it's really chill and peaceful. And like when you're in Phoenix, where do you go for a couple hours? You can go to Sedona, you can go to Cottonwood, you can go to Cornville. Cornville, we have a lot of wine production. We are on the Oak Creek. It's a little bit more rural. You know, you have horses and you have cows. My neighbors have like goats and peacocks, and it's a zoo, right? But you're close access to all of these really cool things to do. And then you have Clarkdale, which also is a historical place with like a little town center with brick buildings that were brought from the East Coast for the overseers 130 years ago that were mining in Jerome. And it's like, it's epic, the views that you have over there, because you're all the way backing to Mingus Mountain, and then you're looking at all the valley behind at the bottom with Clarkdale, Cottonwood, Cornville, and then on the other side, Sedona. There's so much going on. There's a lot of economic development and, you know, federal backed projects going on. So there's going to be a lot happening in the next 10, 20 years in this whole Verde Valley, and it's just prime for all of that investment.
Do you think that Verde Valley, Sedona, all of that is at capacity or occupancy right now? Or do you think there still needs to be development in order to basically keep all the tourism still happening at the rate that it is?
So we have 5 million tourists a year in Sedona, right? And that's up from 1 million before COVID. So we 5x'd on the amount of tourists coming through our town, and it's only 9,000 inhabitants. It's a very, very small place. There's only about 5,000 houses. So I think there's going to be a lot of development, like larger developments in these areas, because there's a lot of space in the Verde Valley. Sedona, where
you're landlocked in Sedona, right? You can't.
You're landlocked.
There's only so much Sedona you
exactly.
can buy.
You're in a bowl and you're surrounded by the Red Rocks, all of which is national forest, and we have almost 95% of the available land in Sedona that's already developed. And I'm actually now, as a realtor, I'm experiencing multiple offers, multiple counter offers, escalation clauses, waived contingencies. You see a property that's been on the market for like 6 months, and you're like, okay, maybe they're desperate to sell, and you send an offer that's a little bit lowball. Guess what? Same day, 3 other offers came in. So we're attractive from both ends of the spectrum. We're attracting people that have money and want to buy a primary residence or a secondary residence, but we're also attracting investors, and we're also attracting tourists. I think we're just at the beginning of it.
Is tourism the number one employment purpose there? How are those vendors? So anybody that would service an Airbnb up there, anywhere from the contractors to the cleaners. I know some people will pay extra for a service that'll follow a contractor or a cleaner to check to make sure they did their job correctly.
Yeah.
How's that business? Do you think they cater in a good way to that crowd up there?
I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to find reliable people just because there's so few of us and there's so much demand. Our region got cut up in a storm with COVID. So a lot of the locals, they were not used to working as hard. We're at a level where our economies are so interconnected with each other. The competition is now not just at the local level. The competition is at the international level. And what happens is the people that are willing to work more are going to win more. And so now the little local people that were not used to competing with people like that are going to have to compete with people from New York, that work 20 hours a day and they don't complain. It's a bummer, because we're losing some of that dolce vita that I say that we have from my country. You got to be okay with it because there's no way around it, right?
How do you get more things done faster, more efficiently? And it's, somebody from New York's going to work 20 hours a day. Then they're going to have an AI bot help them out as well too. Or somebody that is coming from a farm or the Midwest, like where I'm from, like they're just not going to adapt that quickly. And then before you know it, your opportunity's gone.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. Most of the contractors in my area, they don't even have an online presence. Like they don't even want to go there, but they're busy enough that they don't need to. It's not just Airbnb. It's like any kind of business, hospitality, of course, construction, of course, any kind of services, even a hair salon, whatever it is that you like to do. if you come to the Verde Valley, you can make 100K a year. Just like set up a website, get a good commercial spot and offer a good service, and the business will be there. The demand is there. Like no matter what kind of business you want to launch, you can make really, really good money over there.
That's the American dream, baby.
It is, yeah.
Talking about that, so like I know we spoke a little bit about this off camera, part of your American dream was real estate. What's one book that you would want to tell somebody else that's looking to find that dream based on real estate that you'd recommend?
Like I'm gonna have the same answer as most people have in our industry, like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that was the book that opened my mind. My parents didn't have the information that exists in Rich Dad Poor Dad, so they weren't able to pass that on to me. I had to find it out on my own. And once I read that book, I was like, holy shit, there's so much that I don't understand, and I need to understand it right now. And then I went kind of on a frenzy of reading as many books as possible. But the one that I'm reading right now, which is the one that I wrote down earlier, the 5 a.m. Club from Robin Sharma, it's mind-blowing. And this book, the 5 a.m. Club, it basically breaks down all of the reasons why you should wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Well, man, I know it feels like you're probably behind in some facets, but just always know there's always somebody chasing you as well too. You know, one of my close friends, Scott, does the same thing where we keep each other accountable. It's like, hey, 4 a.m., I'm on my way to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, coming back, hitting the cold shower, doing the hard things first, because I feel the same way. But if you start off and you get that feeling like you're winning, well, that's just going to transfer to everything else you do the rest of the day.
People are not willing to do. And when you start your day right, you know, with exercise, with alone time, perhaps meditation, reading, you know, a few little notes here and there that are very inspiring, you're going to gather all that energy inside of your body, and then that's gonna reflect in every single action that you're gonna do throughout your day. Like stoicism, right? Stoicism is realizing that if you wanna make it, you're gonna have to embrace what's happening to you as if you had chosen it. Because things are not gonna go your way. They're never going to. Sometimes you'll get lucky and something will go your way, but most of the time it's not gonna go your way.
Keeping a glass half full attitude.
Exactly, at all times, and staying very stoic in these situations and trying to be very reasoned, disciplined, and make the decisions that are going to be good for you, but also for others. You can be successful on your own. If you're trying to build something that's sustainable, you're going to have people around you. If you're applying these rules of life, this code of conduct and of ethics, and if you benefit, everybody has to benefit. In the end, you're doing God's work. Who knows why we're here in the first place, but all we know is that we're here. So you got to find something that you like doing, and then you're going to put that into practice every day. And if it's something that enlightens you, then you enlighten other people just by your presence, and because they'll feel that energy of wanting to do something good for the world. But there's a lot of other Stoics out there, you know, Seneca, Epictetus. Some of them still exist, some of them were passed down by the students.
Some of that really culture, it makes me think of, you know, one of the bigger global groups is the Go Abundance group. And I've always liked a lot of their simple teachings where it's like, you know, don't come from a place of scarcity. There's enough for everyone all the time. And, you know, like when somebody asks me a question, it's so easy to base it off of real estate. Like, look, if I can't find the answer or somebody else can help you better than me, I'm going to tell you. There's no point. It seems like it's trickled down for some of those great leaders, and that's something I try to apply. So all they had to do was just work 9 to 5, retire. Now somebody else takes care of you. And that's just not how the world's set up today. You hear the term side gig economy, so if that's not something that you're interested in, you know, we were talking about the retirement age earlier, it's the mid-60s. Well, people live to be mid-90s. So if you don't have something set aside, like real estate is kind of like the new pension, because those things are going to go up in value, they're going to cash flow, you got to find some other way to do it, because if you just work 9 to 5, those pensions are gone.
If you're a Gen Z or a millennial and you think you're going to have a pension to retire, this social security thing is going to crash real bad, because we're already broke. None of us are even near being at the age where we're going to benefit from it. This is a program that all the developed nations are going to stop. And then what? Like, you saved money for 30 years through your employer, and now everything's gone and you're gonna be like complaining about it? No, don't complain, just take action today. There are ways around that. You can create your own wealth, you can create your own cash flow, you can create your own retirement. Real estate is an amazing investment strategy.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. It's all about, I mean, we've done as much content, I don't think we hit it enough, but it's analysis paralysis. And I'm in a weekly group now where I'm a partial leader, and it's accountability, you know? And so one of the things is like, I'm gonna try to raise $75,000 by next Monday. And if I don't do it, I'm gonna wear whatever clothes I'm wearing that day on video. I'm gonna take a cold shower in front of everybody. And if I do it, I'm gonna ask Tanya for a second date that week.
Yeah.
And that's like real reward and consequence, you know? And the thing is like we're in a society now where it's like, I wanna entertain myself and get my endorphin release really quickly, but we don't deserve any of that yet. Go work so you have that time. And
the reward comes after the work.
Exactly.
And too many people are focused on the reward before they do the work. They don't understand it's a trap. Like the people who got it, they're not gonna wait around. Delayed gratification, they're gonna get the reward and it's gonna be greater than anyone could have ever dreamed of. Like when I started this journey, I thought, okay, it would be nice to have, 2,000 or 3,000 a month of passive income. Now my goal was 5,000. And once I get there, I'm like, well, maybe 10,000. And now we get hit with inflation. And 10,000 in the United States, it doesn't get you far. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna up my game. Maybe it's gonna be 20 or 30K a month of passive income. Maybe then I'll chill. We'll see.
And then you have this great business idea, so you roll all of it back into a new business.
It's never gonna end. You're like, wow, it was hard, but I'm also impressed that I was able to do it. So now I may be able to do it again and maybe even scale it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just having that attitude with the rich dad, poor dad, just keeping that chip on your shoulder is how it's an easy thing to find. You just got to look for it. And a lot of people don't want to go to those parts of life and those walks that like nobody really wants to read a book, I mean, there's a select few of us, but just creating that small amount of discipline can just open up so many doors for people.
I think Warren Buffett reads a book a week or 2 books a week. It's something crazy like that. That's still 30 minutes to an hour out of my day every day.
Yeah. And,
I do that either in the morning or I do that at night before going to bed. Start the morning fresh.
I had the same part. Like I have a little dyslexia going on. I'm not reading, but I'm not retaining what I want.
Right.
So then I picked this up somewhere. I would use my finger or a dollar bill or whatever my bookmark was to read. And then I would read the first paragraph, the last paragraph, maybe the table of contents, just hyper focus on what that subject was in the next 10, 20 pages I'm getting ready to read. And I'm like, oh, well now that's simple. I just create a system just like anything else in life. If you could be remembered for one thing in life, what would that be?
I think right now, my really, really big dream, and it's so beautiful to be able to say that, knowing that you're gonna do it. I would love to create a subdivision in the Verde Valley, preferably Sedona. One of my biggest frustrations coming from Europe is how terrible most of the architecture is in this country, because we're used to building for efficiency. So we wanna build fast, we wanna build quick, and we wanna build cheap, but that doesn't usually make for good architecture. Growing up in Paris and all the other European cities, we've had buildings that stood up for centuries. And anytime one part of the city went down, they would put a lot of effort into rebuilding it to make sure that it's inspiring to the future generations. So I grew up being inspired by the architecture around me and walking the street and being like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Oh, look at this little detail here and this little balcony and terrace. In the US, you don't really have that. New York has some really, really beautiful buildings, but like in Los Angeles, it's awful. I mean, unless it's a multi-million-dollar house in Beverly Hills or Malibu where someone that, was conscious enough to want to make an effort and hire a really good architect, maybe you're gonna see something beautiful, but the rest of the city, it's ugly as hell. I came here in Arizona and most of the subdivisions that I see is just cookie cutter. Like all the houses look exactly the same. It's a square. They have these tiny little windows. They have a shingles roof. And it's like, oh, this is what you're gonna look at every day when you're gonna come home.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro, but I think my point is we can improve on that. It doesn't have to be like that. And I wanna be able to prove that by doing it myself and showing people that we can actually build. It may be a little bit more expensive, but you're still gonna make a profit. I think we have to be a little bit more holistic in our approach when we're building something. It has to be about the community. It has to be about the people that are gonna live in that area. They're gonna be happy. They're gonna be proud to bring their guests over. They're gonna look at what this little park that they did. This is where my children are playing in between the trees. Look how cute it is. We don't need lots that are all square. We can have lots that are awkwardly shaped, because then that makes a much more interesting backyard. And then maybe you're gonna have some trees in between houses because that's kind of like that space. And yes, you're gonna lose, 0.01 of an acre when you're gonna sell your lot, but it's gonna make all the other lots around it so much more valuable because it's gonna look better.
I just keep thinking unique, unique, unique. So Brian Chesky, the Airbnb CEO, as I'm sure you're well aware, 9-10 months ago now, but he created categories. And all those categories are like, come stay in a cave. come stay in a treehouse.
Yeah.
You know, you look like you're in the middle of an Ewok village in Star Wars.
Yeah.
People right now today are being rewarded with those type of ideas that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I hope whatever I can do to help you get there.
Yeah, thanks.
I got to bring a shovel.
My handle on Instagram is French Guru. I'm considering creating another handle just for real estate because right now it's a little bit of everything. I'm part of the equity team in Sedona in the Verde Valley. I'm with Realty One, the brokerage, awesome people. Come check us out. We have an office in Sedona. We have an office in Cottonwood. We just passed the 100 million mark in home sales with my team. Most of our clients are investors, and it doesn't have to be Airbnb. It doesn't have to be short-term rental. It can be commercial. It can be building. It can be long-term rental. You know, there's a huge demand for workforce housing right now in the Verde Valley. I also know of other people, other investors that are interested in doing that, so we can also help guide people like that.
Verde Valley's booming.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. That was great, dude.